Before I start the show, congratulations to Brad Hepner and Jack McDougall for scoring the cover of this month's Snowboard Canada. I don't know who gets more excited for a cover shot, the rider or the photographer. Hepner revealed the cover to Jack at a party up in Squamish. In attendance were fellow cover boys Cale Stevens and Chris Brown, and Hepner spent over $600 in tequila shots, which could have actually been more than he made for the shot. A lot more. PD is having a vintage snowboard show and shine February 11th at Skull Skates in Qualicum. You can bring your prized pre-2000 vintage snowboard over to Qualicum Beach and partake in what's sure to be a fucking rad time. That's Saturday, February 11th. All right, on to the show. The FNRad Snowboard Podcast is presented by Vans. Season 8 of FNRad is sponsored by Wired Snowboards, Anon Optics, The Boardroom Snowboard Shop, Find an Epic Agent Worldwide Real Estate, and Tribute Board Shop in Nelson, BC. The Boardroom Snowboard Shop is Vancouver's premier snowboard shop with the best selection of the best snowboards and all the accessories you can imagine at the guaranteed best price. The Boardroom's been in business for more than 30 years and aims to provide the best service, and it shows. Knowledgeable staff passing on what they know to you in order to provide you the best possible product for your personal performance needs. Visit the Boardroom on West 4th in Vancouver or Lonsdale in North Van, or go to boardroomshop.com and browse thousands of snowboard products from the comfort of your own home. Support also comes from Dakine, Mount Seymour, Grouse Mountain, Pro Standard GoPro accessories, and Volcom Outerwear. Hey, you can also watch the show on YouTube. It's the exact same show, but you get to see the guest, you get to see me. All right, go subscribe. Thank you. Awesome. Special thanks this episode to Beneath Apparel, This Place's Awesome Vacation Rentals in Whistler, and Tomahawk Indigenous Products. Dave Seoane is one of the pro snowboarders from the awesome 90s era of booming growth, neon water-resistant outerwear, boards you screwed your bindings in with wood screws, backflips, and kickers. Dave's always been one of my favorites. His commentary in Snowboarders in Exile is burned into my brain. I wanted a Look Lamar Trick Stick so bad just because of him, and he's one of the OG pros I've always wanted to have on the show since the beginning. So you can imagine how stoked I was to receive his contact info from none other than Jason Brown. Thanks, Jason. After a short flight, a short drive, I found my way to Dave Seoane's acreage in California. It's a true honor to have him on the show. Here's the one and only Dave Seoane.
Yeah, I grew up here on the 10 acres, but there wasn't a house here.
Yeah.
No, so there was just a trailer. And then I had to share a porch, a covered porch with my brother. And then I think I was like 15, and I was like, I'm getting my own fucking place. I moved out to the cab over camper.
Oh, fucking, that's
and it was cold. I had a kerosene heater, and I would put kerosene in it, and I'd fall asleep, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and it was out of kerosene. It was just smelled so bad. I'd wake up with a headache, and then I had to get up, and I'd be like, "Oh, this is bad." This is before there was anything dangerous in the world,
right?
Before the warnings. And so I'd get up, and then I'd had to walk a mile down the dirt road to the highway. Yeah. It's exactly 1 mile. And the best part is when I'd catch a bus for another hour and a half or hour when I went to the elementary school, and then on the way back, and get out the bus, and then I'd have to walk back down to the dirt road, but right on the corner there where it turns, where the crossroad is, occasionally there would be a buffalo there, and his name was Torque, and I'd be like, God damn it, Torque is out, because that means he got out, and because they walk over fences. It's like, okay, Torque is out. I was like, I got to go around. So I'd cut through the manzanita, cut the corner, and I tell my kids that, and they're like, yeah, right.
You're blowing my mind. Why the trailers? What did your dad and mom do that they were they aspiring to build the house, or were they just bohemian and they're like, fuck, we live in...
It's what they didn't do is make a lot of money. And so we grew up with no money, but, you know, we went fishing all the time. We went camping, and we were a pretty happy family. We were pretty tight, and it was good. And the plan was, like, this property became available. I don't remember how old I was, and they were like, we're getting it. And my dad, stepdad, he's like, we're buying this property. And my mom was like, how? We have no money. He's like, I don't know, but we're going to get it. And they got it somehow.
That's rad.
And it was amazing property. It's like 10 acres up on the hill.
It's unbelievable.
Lake. Did you see it in the daytime?
Yeah. I sent the shot to my kids and my wife. I'm like, look at this place.
Yeah.
I peeked in the bathroom there with the tub with the view. I'm like,
yeah.
Just be sitting in there all the time.
Yeah. Well, you got to put hot water back in it and get cold. But yeah.
It's just in this incredible spot. And 10 acres, did you say?
Yeah.
So what are your plans with it? Because this is recent that you've moved back here.
Yeah,
right?
I moved back here about a year ago, and my mom passed away last year at this time. And my brother and I were trying to figure out what to do, and I spent about 3 days here, and I was like, oh no, we're not selling it. Like this is where we grew up. Like I'm moving back. This is like the timing of everything where my life was. I'm like, we're coming back because there's a lifetime of work here.
Yes.
Between the trees and
yes.
the property, which 10 acres is not a lot, but there's a lot of trees and grass and drainage and whatnot. And there's a shop that we're in now that was here as well. So I'm just building this up so I have a place to work and build.
Yeah.
And so it was just, it's quiet, all the neighbors, like I'm in the safest spot, like retired sheriff deputy, retired Oakland cop from the 70s. The actual county sheriff lives just down there. There's a current CHP officer over there. Like they have to get through all those guys to get to the end of the road. And if they can make it through that, then they deserve it. But like there's a lot of eyes on just looking out for each other here.
And you got the neighbor up the hill too. That place just looks insane.
Yeah. Over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That you share the kind of, it's almost like a cul-de-sac, but that's just not the right word for where you're at. You know what I mean? Like it's the end of the road. It's gated and
it's a balde-sac. Another made-up word.
There you go.
Recreational wordsmith.
So what's the first, like when you're living out here, how do you get a skateboard? Where does the skateboard come from?
Well, in high school, I think I was in high school. That's when I was like, okay, here's how it started. I remember I was like, I think we went down to Berkeley, and I was like starting to listen to that. Like, I think the Sex Pistols were like, yeah, we're punk rock. We're going punk rock.
Yeah.
And then it was like the Circle Jerks, and it was like, okay, Black Flag, and it was like skating, and it was like, oh, here's a culture. It's just like, I don't know how I got involved. I mean, I live out in the middle. I live in redneckistan. Yeah. I have no idea how I got immersed in the whole, like, I don't want to be a redneck. I just want to be a skater. I just wanted to skate. And so I built I built a vert ramp, but it was it was 4 feet tall.
Oh my God.
And it went to vert, and I just learned on it, and I learned how to drop in. It happened so fast. I was like, okay, I want to build a bigger ramp. And so at that time I think it was when like Bones Brigade came out, and I had it on VHS, and we just watch it. Bones Brigade, that was an amazing. That's where I got my skateboarding source from. So I was like, I'm going to build a big vert ramp. It's like, why not?
Yeah, you got the space.
There's no rules. Yeah, we got the space, and my mom's like, yeah, go ahead. Like not thinking I was going to be able to pull it off and get the wood together, but a lot of people volunteered their wood to us, which was
from the surrounding area.
Some of the surrounding areas at night, and it was very nice of them. And I feel like I need to give back to the community for that one. But
sure.
It ended up it was like kind of a safe place because we'd be here at night and we'd be skating, and
you have lights on it? What'd you do?
I won't tell you how we got the lights, but yeah, we eventually got some lights on the ramp, and because it gets hot here, it gets like 110, 115.
Okay. Yeah, because you're exposed. This reminds me of the desert in Mexico, like down in Cabo. My wife and I will sometimes get a little casita near the beach. Like the smells and the like. I saw a tumbleweed today.
You did?
I saw a fucking tumbleweed. It was like pouring rain. Tumbleweed blows across the highway. I was like, holy shit.
What does a casita smell like?
Well, the casita, it depends on what time of the day. it was just the like desert sage or something. There's a smell when you're walking through like the brush at dusk that it's just like unmistakable. It's incredible.
There is a
mesquite or something.
I don't know. There is a tarweed here, and it's really greasy, and it comes out in the late summer, and it smells. It's very pungent.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, I spent a whole summer, like, well, not a whole summer, like a month down at Pismo Beach, where my real dad was moved down there. So I was like, oh, beach, surf. I'm gonna learn how to surf, everything. But when I came back, that smell, I was like, it smells like home. And in the fall, I mean, it's everywhere and it smells. And that's what, when I smell that, I just feel like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, dude, this place is super, super rad. I was just blown away coming up the hill, and I'm like, fuck, there's citrus trees. Like, it's a whole foreign world. I live in a rainforest where it just rains all the time. It was really sunny all summer, actually. Really nice. But it's, this is more desert-like, right? Like,
well, it's rolling foothills. This is like,
rolling foothills.
Because the San Joaquin Valley is down below, and just a few miles away is kind of the start of like the rolling foothills. And then you go up about another, in altitude, another maybe up to like 1,500 feet, and then it starts to get into pine trees. So it goes from oak trees to brush to oak trees to brush to the pines.
Those oaks are scary, man. I saw some really big ones that like poltergeist or something. They're like scary trees. They've got a lot of character. Yeah,
when I grew up, I remember I was like never into oaks, but I don't know what happened. And I'm so the same way. It's like, I'm not gonna say I talk to the trees or anything like that, but the trees they're pretty amazing. And so I've been trying to, like, I'm not trying to cut them all down. I'm just trying to, like, kind of spread them apart, because they grow in clusters sometimes, and you got to thin all that out so you can, and then all the big ones and the medium-sized ones, you got to cut off all the ladder fuels for fire prevention. But here, because it's mostly grass, so if you keep the grass cut and you keep the trees manicured. I live in a stucco house with concrete decks and a metal roof, so it's like, if there's a fire that rips through here, I'm just going to be out there with a hose, Do
the fires get close to here?
Yeah, I mean, this summer was actually pretty good, but yeah, you can see them out there. I mean, you can see it because we're on a hill. You have a lookout, and what's nice is now they have the Chinooks that come in and just like, because there's plenty of lakes to draw from, and it's amazing how I watched it, and he just like within like 3 loads, it was just, the thing was just out, and the guys on the ground were just like finishing up, and it was like, oh, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
You jump on it right away.
Yeah. Shit, man. Okay, so you get this skateboard. Nobody knows where it comes from. Where did the board come from? From when you in high school? Oh, you visit your dad or something and get a board?
I think when I was younger, like I remember, like I have a Modesto skate park card, and I think I was like 8 or so.
Oh wow!
But my brother and his friends, they were at the skate park, and I remember they were like doing handstands. And,
walk the dog, all those things.
Tic Tacs. And it was pretty cool. And there was all of a sudden like a lot of skate parks, and then that whole thing just kind of died away. But I just was like, I don't know what the draw was. I felt like connected to just kind of roll.
So that 4-foot half pipe is the next one the Damien ramp?
That was, I'm trying to think, because I bought a quarter pipe from Damian Sanders, and I didn't even know, like, he was, I didn't even really know who he was or anything, and because a few guys were like, oh, that's Damian Sanders, the snowboarder, and I was like, he snowboards? He does that stuff? And I had just gotten a Burton backhill that I bought from a friend of mine for like $150. And
that's a lot of money at that time.
I was like, I want to go snowboarding.
Sick.
I was immaculate. And I wish I could get that board back.
85 or 80, probably an 84 Performer or something like that.
No, it was a Burton backhill with the
full
rubber, like the water ski straps. And
wow, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, so the first time I went up to Bear Valley, and that was probably maybe 83 or 4. And I went up there, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna learn how to snowboard today. And I went to Bear Valley. Sorry, Josh. He hates this story, but I went there, and they're like, I tried to get on the lift. They're like, no, you can't. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, you can't have that. And I go, why? He's like, because it's a ski board. I'm like, well, I'm skiing sideways. What's the difference? And he's like, no. And I was like, fuck. The fucking rules. It's like, fuck you. So I went to the toboggan hill, ate shit, and didn't really progress at all. But it wasn't until I had met Damien, and he was like, oh, you should come to Iron Mountain. That was like the spot. I think it was up 88. And it's closed now. But it was like you park, and then it dropped all down below. And he was there, and he had hair.
Yeah.
Hair
88,
in action.
Damien. Whew.
What was awesome was like, it's pretty hillbilly around here, and you got to earn it. But Damien had like, spiderweb eyeshadow and just spiked hair, and he's always smiling and laughing. And I just remember the first time I met him, I was like, that guy must know how to fight. But I don't think he gets into fights. But if he did, like he had to defend himself around here.
He moved here from the beach, right? Is that the idea?
I'm not sure where he originally was from, but yeah, his whole family lived here, and and I don't even think like back then when he snowboarded, he can even go to Bear. But now Bear Valley is awesome because it's run by snowboarders.
That's the best. It's
so incredible there. And I'm not going to talk how great it is because, sorry, Josh, again, but we don't want to.
You don't want to blow it up.
But it's already like Blaze does his boot camp there, and
I think I might come out in March for that. That's probably worth it.
It's so fun. I went last year and I had a blast. And I, Blaze, we went to the same high school, and I knew Blaze back in the old days. And Blaze is always a pretty chill guy, and he's done well for himself. He's an incredible snowboarder. I'm completely blown away. And to this day, he's still like, it's like, wait, you're not aging. You're still, it's like use it or lose it, which is the deal. But what he's really good at, and we were just like riding around, there's a bunch of us, and he's all, Seoane, follow me. And I was like, okay, go back into attack mode. And we're just like riding in kind of the like slush, and he just goes boop over the stump, and he's all, you got it. And because he said that, I just was following him like, okay, I got it. And I just went off the stump thing. It was like something I wouldn't normally go off anymore or anything like that. For safety reasons. But I just did it, and he's really, really good at like seeing people's like potential, or just like kind of helping them with their fears. It's just like, you could do it. You just got to do it.
Certain people can do that. Sometimes at a skate park, it's like, I'll give you $5 if you do it in 3 tries. There's that guy that sees that you're trying something that's kind of outside your thing, and you're just about to like give up. He's like, $5 if you do it in the next 3 tries. Like, got $5 right here, and pull it out of his, just that motivator. I've always tried to be that person for my friends too. Like, I think you could tack another 180 on that or something, like just the motivator. Just, it's so much more fun to go up there and you ride, and then you pull out your phone. Now you're like, all right, do that thing I saw you do 2 runs back. Just do it a little bigger. I think you got this. I fucking love that.
Yeah. And his snowboard camp it's fun. It's just all adults. And, when I went up there, I was like, oh, okay, snowboard camp, a bunch of adults. And I thought it was going to, be like, okay, bend your knees.
Yeah.
Everybody strapped in and was just, boom, gone. And I was like, holy fuck, everyone's really good. And I remember, I'm looking over the right, people are just carving around me. And I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. And it was super fun. And like, we rode like good long days. And so it was really nice, but I'm excited to go back this year.
Love that guy. Yeah, did you do a talk or a presentation there?
Supposed to, but I only had a VHS of like one of the old films. I don't even know if I had a DVD. And we tried to like download it with a cable and TV, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, it was, what were you going to do, Subject Hackinson?
I think we were going to do Subject Hawkinson.
Yeah,
and Hawkinson, and then we're actually going to do it this year. And I don't know if there's a lot of, I guess the elders that snowboard are into it and whatever, and it's just kind of like Q&A and just watch it and those films, like I watch them now and I'm just like, oh, there's some really, it's so hard to get shots.
Oh my God, it's impossible.
Can't even imagine now. Yeah. But you got the weather conditions, the riders, knees. Like everything's blown out, and everything's got to like fall into place perfectly, and it seems like it's really difficult to get anything in these days. But back then it was just like, it was a lot easier, but it was still difficult. Music
rights and stuff. Did you pay for rights for that thing?
Yeah, we had to pay for all the music, and
that would have been expensive because you've got Primus in there. You've got big name people from that time that were current.
Yeah, and Volcom Subject Hawkinson we went through Volcom, and they helped produce it, but they had some music contacts, and
Cool.
so they were kind of tied into the industry. That helped quite a bit.
Yeah, that film. So like a lot of viewers will know you from that, but I mean, I forgot that you were top billed in Western Front until I watched it a few months ago, maybe. And I was like, so it's you?
Damien's kind of the
Damien's the main dude.
He's the
He's the
lead role.
star. Yeah, he's the lead role.
And Dana Nicholson is in a little bit. Steve Graham, myself, John Bayaki, Roach.
But there's only
Tucker.
3 of you at the beginning. Like it's you. Top billing goes to you, Damien, and I think Dana.
No, Graham.
Oh, it's got to be Grammy. Yeah, of course. Of course, it's got to be Graham.
Yeah.
And you guys are both on those Lamars.
Yeah, I met Steve Graham down at ASR, and I don't remember what year it was. It could have been it was right around that time, and that's right when Burt Lamar, he had the shred sled, which was a dry snowboard ramp, and they had these. They're like, you got to come try it out, and it was at Vegas. I'm like, I'm not going near that thing. And then Steve was like, hey, so they're putting a tour together, and they want you and I to go and do demos, and I was like, oh, Coors Light, shred sled, that sounds fun. Just drink beer and whatever. Yeah. So we'd get there, and it's like, all right. And then the trailer door would come down. It's like, all right, you guys, when you're done setting it up, I'm like, we got to set it up.
The talent setting it up too.
Where's Burt Lamar and his fucking tool belt?
That's amazing. So you would put the thing together, do a demo. You pull it up to a shop or something?
It was we did some stuff in the parks. We did one at a in Chico at a fraternity in the backyard.
Oh,
that was
wow.
raging. That was I was like, whoa, I never hung out with a bunch of college kids.
So what the hell was a sled shed? Was it like a drop in and then a quarter pipe, or a drop in a jump ring?
Well, the first design was a quarter pipe, so you'd hit it and come back in, but it just didn't work out, so it turned into a little mini launch, and then you had to land on the 8-foot by 8-foot pads.
Wow.
And when you missed, it was a little brutal, and we all missed.
Yeah. So who else hits this thing? It's you, Graham.
Yeah, it's Graham and and then I think Roach, when we were in Sacramento, Roach showed up and hit it.
So sick.
And I'm not sure if Brian Harper, if he came out and did it at all.
Amazing.
But
was Brian riding those Lamar boards as well?
He rode for Look.
Yeah, for Look even, right.
Yeah.
So I forget, it was a Look Lamar. So Burt Lamar basically wins the world championships because he knows how that shit works.
Yeah.
He comes, he sees everybody's practicing the race. He practices in the half pipe for 2 hours instead of the regular half hour or 1 that everybody else does. Mm-hmm. And he wins it.
Yeah,
pisses
he had
off
to learn
Craig.
how to snowboard.
Yeah, he had to learn how to snowboard and win. And then he did. So then he signed with Sims and took the money and then went to Look. Yeah. He didn't ever really ride for Sims. He was mad at Tom from when he was a kid. Was what I heard.
Oh yeah,
from Ken or someone.
It's funny because one of the first skateboards I ever had, a real skateboard, was a Sims Lamar.
Rad.
And I had it. I wish I wouldn't have painted it, but it's got the cutouts in it and pretty wide and flat. And that was my first board.
That's amazing.
I wonder if I can take the paint off.
So would that have had something to do with your decision to link up with Lamar after? You're like,
no.
Fuck, this is the Sims Lamar guy.
No, not at all. None of that. It was just coincidental. But
that's insane. That's awesome.
I wrote a letter, Dear K2, blah, 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 blah. This is, I don't know, this is 88 or so.
Yeah.
And it's I do these contests and whatnot and, send the photos and the chicken scratch resume.
Yeah.
And they sent me a board. And I was like,
K2 did?
Yeah, they sent me a board.
What board would it have been? Ecstasy or something?
The ironing board? I don't know. But it was I pulled, because I've always ridden Kidwell boards, it's the round tails.
Yes.
The second version. And so I pulled it out and I was like, whoa, look at that thing, brand new board. Free. And I went to flex it. I was like, it's not going to work. And I put it back in there and I shipped it back to them.
No.
I wrote a letter and I said, it's a great board. It looks really incredible. I wish I could ride it, but I need something softer and a little bit more freestyle riding.
That's incredible.
And I don't know if I got a letter back or whatever, but I sent that board back. I didn't like keep it and sell it.
That's incredible.
Trade it for weed or anything.
Right,
like that.
right.
It's just like,
where did that integrity come from? No offense.
well, that's a good offense.
That's rad integrity.
No defense. Yeah. I don't know. It's just like it just seemed like the right thing to do. It's just like I've always had to like work since I was a little kid. It seems like I've had every shit job there is, to make money. I worked at feed stores, butchering chickens. I worked at a shooting range, and they buzz the horn, and they're all, okay, duck, and we duck, and it was like, and they buzz the horn, and we run out there, and we set up these metal targets again.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was like, my mom did not know. Like, she found out about it, and she was so pissed, and she's like, don't know. She's late.
Well, does anyone ever get shot at that? Of course not. Like you're...
Not that you read about. I don't think so. It was safe. There was a dirt hill. It was totally fine. But I've always just worked, and that was like, I think when I was a kid, I really wanted to get a trampoline, and I was like, Mom, can we get a trampoline? She's like, yeah, you can get a trampoline. I was like, cool. A couple weeks go by. I thought we were gonna get a trampoline. She's all, you want a trampoline? I go, yeah. She's all, well, you got to go out and make money. You got to work. I'm like, well, I got a job. How do I do that? She's like, you just go and ask for a job. So I went to our friends owned a liquor store just a few blocks away. And I was scrubbing the floor, and I get like $1. I was like, yes. And that lasted about 2 days. And I was like, fuck this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I was only like 7 or 8.
Oh my God.
But I went over to there was a body shop, auto body shop.
Sure.
Called Shanklin's Body Shop. And I went there, and I just, there was a guy standing there. There was like 5 bays, and I just went into the one that the guy was standing there. I was all, excuse me, sir. Like, I'm trying to find some work after school. And he's like, come here tomorrow. And I went there, and I swept out his shop and everything, like
Sick.
Moved the trash cans, and then he handed me a crisp $1 bill. And I don't know how long. It didn't take that long. But that was the deal. When he was done, I would just clean up the shop for him, and he gave me $1 bill, and then I go to the liquor store and spend it all on candy.
Yeah. So you never got the trampoline?
I never got a trampoline.
I wanted one so bad. I bought one for my kids right away. That was like, I'm like, you are growing up with a trampoline.
Yeah. It's funny because now trampolines find us.
Yeah.
People give us trampolines. And I just moved. There was one here that I think it belonged to my brother and his kids, but he brought it here so I can give it to my kids. But my kids had already, somebody gave us a trampoline. And so I just moved it again because I'm trying to give it to the neighbors. And
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
having a trampoline was a game changer. Did they ever add a trampoline to the shreds sled or whatever it was?
No, that would have definitely been no.
I just mean like beside it, somebody hopping on the trampoline doing all the grabs
on the side,
and someone,
like just doing
yeah, like because you're doing a demo, right? Like you're essentially going out there to fraternities or wherever you're winding up, just saying like, this is snowboarding. It's fucking awesome. They allow it on ski hills now. Like buy a board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was, I think, my friend Sean Goulart, who passed away, who got me really into snowboarding up and got me up to Tahoe, up to Donner Summit. I remember him, like he had I'm pretty sure it was Sean. It was like taped off the edges and then in the boots, and because he had a crail, and he was just like so flattened out. It's the most incredible crail of all crails.
Yeah. What were your tricks for Western Front? Like, what were your safeties? Mutes, the big rocket mutes.
Yeah, the mutes. I was really good at the half backflip.
Half flip.
There was like, it was always like the lean air, but it was always like, oh yeah, I call it like put it in reverse. You go reach out the nose and then put it back there. It's like, oh yeah, put it in reverse.
Yeah, it took me forever because when the jib era came in and mutes went flat and cowboy, like a Jamie Lynn mute, right?
Yeah.
Like he's got the board flat and he's got his cowboy stance and the knees go way out. There's a whole era of guys just doing mutes for 2 years or something.
Yeah, I wonder like when that big kind of cowboy style started, because even like Roach, like he started doing indies and he was all tucked in and tucked knees and everything. And then it's like, yeah, like Jamie, he had just a bigger stance and his knees were out. And I'm trying to think who else back in that day.
Well, everybody copied Jamie.
Style.
Everybody copied Jamie. So Devin copied Jamie. Like it just, all of a sudden there was a Jamie style. Peter copied Jamie. And I can remember for maybe 2 or 3 years too long, my mutes were still rocket. Like I'd still grab on the nose.
Yeah.
Because learning them, like we wanted them straight up and down. Remember that JD Platt? You know, he's like got his hand on the back of his head and his forehead's touching the board.
The lean drag?
Yeah. There was like all these moves where you grab the board and just like you wanted to get it straight up and down.
I remember Jason Ford had there was like reach around the arm and then come around and grab the other rail. I was like, all right, this is getting a little out of hand, guys.
Yeah, he would always do those tuck knee mutes too that were like that one over the Snowcat where he's just like, the boots were so soft, the Burton Two Tongues and all that stuff. What boots would you roll when you were sponsored?
God, obviously in the beginning it was Sorels, and then I think I had a pair of like early Burton boots that had the neoprene liners in them.
Yeah.
And that was really soft, and those were nice. But I mean, back then, like the heel lift was just part of snowboarding. It wasn't really like now. It's like it goes off like a quarter inch. It's like I got heel lift. I got to do something.
Yeah, those Dale boot liners felt like rubber boots. Remember? Yeah. You could get them wet inside. You could put water inside the boot, and it would just stay there.
I had a theory about that. This neoprene material, right?
Yeah.
So I was up in Whistler, and I had a hole in my boot, right?
Yeah.
No. I had the boot, and I was like, I'm just gonna barefoot it in there. I'm not even gonna wear socks because when you wear a wetsuit, you don't wear like a
when
you wear
cotton sock in between it. Yeah.
Long johns, and then and I rode, and I was like, fuck, I can't even feel my feet anymore. And then at the end of the day, I was like, fuck, my foot is fucked. And I looked down, and I was like, oh yeah, I got a fucking hole in my boot, and it was like.
So your foot was frozen.
Yeah, I was just packed it full of ice. And,
my God!
It was fucked up for a while, but that was just dumb.
So your main like sponsored years are the Look years because you do a year or two on the Trick Stick. Was there 2 years there, like the freestyle and the Trick Stick, and then you get your model with Steve Graham? Yeah,
I think, and the model with Steve Graham, it was like I don't even know how many boards they sold. I don't remember
the SDX
royalties.
They didn't even give you guys royalties.
Maybe there was a little bit. I don't know. Maybe Graham made some royalties. I hope. I don't really remember that, but it was just.
That's like the year before Exile or something, right? But that's super weird because Western Front.
No, that was after Snowboarders and Exile.
Oh, that was after.
Yeah, that was like. That was after the. Well, yeah, that was after the Trick Stick, and then.
Oh yeah, the Trick Stick. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was like the Lamar. I don't remember like the Trick Stick and the yellow one and that like blue marbled.
Yeah.
Trick Stick, which is smaller, and I think it still had the same shape.
That shape was not that functional, hey?
No.
Like a lot of people tried those boards and just were like, nah. I think Farmer tried one. He was like, nah, this doesn't work.
The two sweetest things that came out of that Look deal, 3.
Yeah.
One was the yellow Look pants.
Amazing. Those yellow Look pants are the reason that Burton did the yellow pants.
Well, I remember I saw it. I don't remember who had them on. It might have been like, I don't even know if it was Bert. It was like somebody had them. I was like, ooh, those are like snowboarding pants.
Yes.
That was like a big thing. And so like when I finally got a pair, I was like, and I have one pair.
Oh, wow. Rankwood said that if he could have anything from Craig's archives, any one item, it'd be his yellow Look pants.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he said that was the thing.
Yeah.
Everybody
maybe it was Craig I saw wear. I don't remember, but it was like some big name pros. So I was like, oh, those are legit. And meeting Steve Graham and becoming friends with Steve Graham. And so I was like regional, right, with Lamar. So I went to Vegas to the ASR show, and it was in Vegas. And I was like, oh, yeah, the French guys are going to be there, like the big wigs. And these guys are all wearing suits and ties. And I was like, fuck, I got to get a haircut. I got to shower. Cut my nails. I got to fucking
I love it.
Put some deodorant on. New shoes. And try not to be a dirtbag. And I remember meeting these guys, and they're all in suits, and they're these French guys. And I was like, oh, these guys are fucking serious, And then they're like, oh, we want to go out for dinner. And I was like, oh, fuck. All right. And we went out to dinner, and we got so hammered. And those guys were in the elevator, like picking each other up and throwing them out. And just like, they just turned into these big drunk little kids. And I was
awesome.
like, I'm with them.
Awesome.
They're normal.
Yes.
They're like us, but they just had to like polish it up for the show to sell boards to keep their that was to make a long story short, that was Jacques Gris. That's who kind of ran Look in France. And
what was their deal? Awesome. They had cornered the ski binding market, if I remember correctly. Like
they had ski bindings as well as they had pedals. Pedals were their big seller
for bikes,
for road bikes. Yeah.
Oh fuck!
They had like a clip-in pedal.
So then they never did skis. They just went straight to snowboards. They did pedals, they did bindings for skis, and then they did snowboards.
Yeah, and I don't know how or where those boards were made.
Were there Lamar bindings or Look bindings, like snowboard bindings?
Well, they eventually came up with a whole new system. They're like, oh, this is going to be revolutionary. So their whole market was like, okay, so you get this binding. So for places that want to rent snowboards, instead of like moving it around, there was a cable release, and you could just move them anywhere you want. Like they rotated and you locked them down, a cam system. Yeah. And so they're like, here, you guys got to ride these, and we're like, okay. And we started at the top of the pipe. Like this, and we get to the bottom and wanted, would be like this, and we're just laughing. Like, there's no way. Like these things just do not work. There's just not. They're just little cables, and it just didn't work. Yes. And I don't even remember what bindings I think we all used just like Sims bindings.
Sims were big at that time. Burton was really big when you guys had the SDX. That would have been sick to share a pro model with fucking Steve.
Yeah. But I think when that came out, I didn't even know that was even coming out. And it was like I was like SD. I was like Steve, Dave. Oh, SD. I got it. Yeah. Steve, Dave. Yeah. But I was already into starting to film and into that mode. So I was like, all right, SDX.
Were you filming during the Rozzy years? So the Rozzy years followed directly after the Look stuff, right?
Yeah. What happened with that is I was just
still French guys.
More French guys. Mm-hmm. So what happened with that is, like I was already like, okay, I'm kind of done with snowboarding. I just want to film and try to like put together some projects and film, travel. I'm still doing the same thing. And then Rosinol called, and I don't know how it became. I'd have to backtrack a little bit, but I ended up like I got a call, and they offered me like a 3-year contract and help them design boards, rad, and like pro models. And I was like, I don't know if I deserve it, but I will jump on board because I was more into the design aspect of it. Sure. Because I had some ideas that I wanted to try, which is flexes and like side cuts, and they're pretty open-minded to do things. And I was like, what if we just make a board with just like one layer of glass? Yeah. Like what would happen? And I just wanted to make this, it was like a cheating butter board, and I still have that board because you could just take it and you just lift up your front foot and it goes and you can hold it there. I love it. And it was pretty simple. Like like Roach and Terry, like those guys can like legit nose press and tail press. Totally. And but I couldn't, so I was like, I need some training wheels.
Yeah, Rankwick claims to have come up with the butter term. Well, that Craig came up with it to make fun of him. It's like you're buttering toast over there or something like that. They were making fun of him. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that was a whole era. Like that Terrier's stuff in Roadkill is like still legit today. If go watch the Roadkill buttering stuff.
Yeah, no, like, it's true.
Badass.
Yeah, because like Terrier probably saw like Roach and those guys doing it, and was like, oh, I can do that, but better.
That and was his mode at that stage, at that age.
Like, I could do that. I'd try it. And he's just like, shh.
Tell me about the idea behind Subject Hackinson. Like, does he call you up and say, Dave, make a movie about me? Or do you go, hey, Volcom, I've got this idea. Let's focus on one dude?
No, he wasn't like, I want to make a film about me. He's definitely pretty low key, but I don't know if I brought the idea and asked him like we should make a Terrier film. And I think like I met Terrier in Japan when he was 15. Okay. And it was like, oh, that's that Norwegian kid who's just like who copies Craig Kelly. Yes. And it was just like it was just like watching Craig Kelly but go bigger, more technical. Yes. And when Craig backed off, I think Terrier stepped in and just took Craig's tricks.
Terrier never beat Craig.
Oh, he never did.
No, Craig engineered it. So
that's so awesome.
Isn't that amazing?
I never knew that.
Yeah. That's a real thing. That's a real thing.
And you never will.
Yeah, that's it. So you knew him from, watching him coming up. You're like, okay, Craig picked him to be his replacement is what it felt like.
Yeah. But that was in Japan when I was still snowboarding, and like Steve and I, like they sent us to contests, but they weren't expecting contest results. So we just go there and just completely just not get caught. I mean, we're just like, I don't know why we're here, but I'm having a fucking blast.
Yeah, that's epic.
Yeah.
That's the cherry
So
gig.
the whole contest thing, it wasn't like, I mean, a lot of people were there and they're like, I gotta win or I gotta do good. And the best contest result I ever got was, I got a second place behind Craig.
Wow.
And I don't remember where it was at. And then third place was Scott, Upside Downy.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of cool. And
yeah, man.
but I don't know, like probably all the other, like Brushy and Palmer, they probably fell. That's why I slipped in the second, but it was just a random
that's
thing.
still, hey, man, I'm a huge fan of your snowboarding. Like, you were ripping.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. It was such a cool era because it was like, I can remember whoever brought the Western Front, it would have been my friend Joel who owned the shop. Like he would go to San Diego and then he would come back and it would be, the fall, and he'd be like, you got to see this. Like, come to my house right now. You're not going to fucking believe it. So he did that.
Off the press.
He did that with Western Front. We taped it. I watched it every day at my house, wore out the tape.
Whoa, wait, he bootlegged it?
He bootlegged it. He owes you guys. He owes whatever that is, $30 or whatever.
Like the Bones Brigade too.
Yeah, right.
We did tape to tape.
Tape to tape was the deal. And then he did the same thing the next year with Exile. But it was like, I was like, dude, it's not snowboard season for a while. Like, chill. And he was like, no, you need to come here today. You have no idea. Like, Snowboarders in Exile was like, it was such a next level movie because it was a buddy movie. It was, like, it was so quotable. There was so much, like, it was a travel movie. All of a sudden, it was like all over the world. You guys are stealing Burt Lamar's car, which was epic.
Oh, that's Snowboarders in Exile.
Yeah, that's Exile.
Yeah.
So Exile, when he told me, you got to come see this movie I was like, yeah, I get it. Western Front, like, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, I can see it later. He's like, no, you need to see it today.
Well, after the Western Front, Jerry and Artie, they got a film camera. It was a Bolex.
Sick.
I don't remember if it was electric or I think it was an electric one. But I remember that's the first real trip we went on, the first kind of like travel adventure. We drove Artie's truck out to Jackson Hole. And we were out there and it was some other like kind of co-project with a couple other skiers. It was like Kevin Andrews and Griff Davis and we're like, we knew him from Tahoe, like from Squaw and Tahoe, and those guys were great. And it was like, we've never really been on a trip with skiers, Like they do their thing, we do our things.
Yeah.
So we drive out there, Graham and I are in the back of the truck, like Graham's just drinking beer. I'm like, dude, that fucking beer's cold. Like, you want a beer? I'm like, no, I want to fucking something warm. I want a fucking blanket.
Yeah, nice.
And so we just went all in the back of the truck the whole way. It was fucking roots. And so we get out there and we finally could stay in a hotel. And it's like, turn the heat on. and when we were there, Jerry and Artie, they had the camera and like one would wear the backpack and the other unzip it, and like, I don't remember if Jerry or Artie, I think they were taking turns, but it was like, because it was so fucking cold. And they're like, we need to put some oil. And I heard like something about like trying to put an oil in it to kind of gear it up, but it was just so cold is why it was running slow. But I think they put heat packs and it ended up working out. But that trip, because this is at the same time like Blizzard of Oz had already come out, and like Plake and Schmidt, it was like those guys were like legends, and that movie was done really well. It was like it was kind of the progression of like Warren Miller. It was
100%.
more of like a cool guy ski film, and there was adventure and travel without all the goofy narration.
Right. There
was narration, but it wasn't like
yeah, like that Warren Miller genre was like he had it wrapped up. I loved seeing his movies. It was hilarious.
I mean, I gotta say, for Warren Miller, I mean, he that guy has made so many films, and he's done it longer than anybody, and he left a legacy behind. It's like really incredible. Like when I was younger, I was like, oh, Warren Miller, ski films, blah, blah, blah. And I would like fucking snot-nosed dumbass would just talk shit about it. And in retrospect now, like look back, I was like, I have no idea how. I mean, he was the only game in town, I guess, but how did he do it for so long? And it's just like his heart and soul was into it. And he had his recipe, and it was like, you know, they just like everybody go out and film. Eventually, when he probably got guys to go out and film, and then he'd come in and sit down there and like, give me that mic. Here's how you do it. Here's how you make a ski film, kids.
Guess who he brought to the Vancouver premiere of his Warren Miller movie? Would have been 94 or 95. Take a wild guess.
Burt Reynolds?
Close. Noah Selaznick.
Oh, really?
I met Noah in Vancouver in like
was
94.
Noah in his film?
Noah was in a Warren Miller film.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He was like the talent that was like the celebrity at the ski show. It was nuts.
Wow.
Because it's like, you know, like a little regional ski show.
Yeah.
You know, the Warren Miller movie is like one of the highlights that they put on the news. Like, there's going to be a Warren Miller
in every town, all over the US. I remember
all over the place.
when I was younger, I was like, "Oh, cool! The Warren Miller film's going to come." I'm gonna check
Exactly.
it out. I did the same thing. I was into it.
And it was Noah. I think it was MLY era Noah.
It is nuts. I never knew that about Noah.
Yeah.
Selaz.
It definitely seemed out of place as far as like, fuck, Noah got a raw deal, dude. Like, he was the shit for like 4 years in a row. It was just like, and even like Western Front, he's got shots in Western.
Yeah.
on a Kemper.
But yeah, and not even shots in there. It was like Noah was kind of like, I look back at those old films, and I watch those guys ride, and I was like, fuck, they're so much better than us and so much more style. And I look at Chris Roach, I'm like, got the elbows.
Oh.
And I just look at it and the way he rides now, or back then, I was like, and him and Tucker, and I was like, fuck, they're just so much better than like Graham and I, and just a totally different style. And I can't even say skate style, but just like you watch Chris ride and everything, he's just rolling right over, and like, you know, it's like he'd be like, okay, just hit that and just bunny off of it.
It's always the bunny. It's always the bunny.
He's got his own vernacular, the jeeve.
Yeah.
Jeeve.
Yeah. So like he was, and when I say raw deal, I think he was poised to be on the Forum launch. Selaz was. So had he gotten that Forum break, and no offense to anybody at MLY or Molly or that whole thing, it just, his career just kind of petered there. He just they didn't have the budget to put him in the MacDog shit or in the standard stuff, like, because it was starting to be pay for play, right? You had to throw down the 10 G's.
And get your rider in there. But he was in there, wasn't he? And like,
oh, yeah, for sure he still was. But he was such a standout in like TB2, TB3, TB4. Like, he was just. But
he was like in like Pocahontas, and he was Dogger's guy.
He was Dogger's guy. Well, he brought Dogger up there for the first time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because Dogger was making he made film, like skate films, like Super 8 and like.
Yeah, H Street stuff. Yeah,
8th Street stuff and legit.
Yeah, totally.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, that shit was amazing. Mm-hmm. And Noah, he straddled both worlds. He was like a legitimate pro skateboarder and a legitimate pro snowboarder. A lot of you guys were. Were you a vert ramp? Yeah, you had a vert ramp. So.
Yeah, but I sucked at skating compared to those guys. Those guys
Hetzel
were real skaters. I was like recreational.
AV. Yeah. I never got that good at skating either. It was a really difficult. That's the real deal. Dropping in on vert, and I saw some photos of you catching air at the Del Mar or something.
Yeah, solid, almost a foot.
Still, I don't know how deep that fucking bowl was. That's concrete. You're going in the air.
It's concrete, and it was lumpy, and like you watch those guys skate it, and it's like, whoa, they make it look easy. They make it look fun, and it's like you get in there, and it's like slow fast. It was a whole different deal. Like I never had any concrete time under my belt, but I was just there for a day.
Yeah, yeah. So was that parent stuff, or it sounds like you're working from a pretty young age, and then you probably get a car when you're 16. And
I had a car when I was 13.
What? No, fuck?
I'm 13 or 14.
Jesus, dude.
Because I can drive on these dirt roads.
Of course.
So I used to drive over to the end of the dirt road and go to my buddy Matt Glover's house, and It's a mile away, but I'd drive to the end of the dirt road, and then I'd walk across like this long field to get to his house. I never drove on the highway. And then one night I was coming back. It's probably like, I think I was like 15. I was older.
Yeah. 15.
And I'm coming back, probably a little semi-pickled at that age, experimental. So I could see like cop lights, and I was like, what the fuck? And then there's like cops with the flashlights looking in the car, and I just pop out of this is before they just draw a gun on you.
Right.
And I was like, hey, and they flashlights like right in my face. They're all, who are you? I go, that's my car. And they're like, and I walk down there, and they're like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I can only drive I don't have my license. I'm only like 15. I can't drive on the road. So my mom said I could drive it to the end of the road. Is that okay? And the cops looked at each other, and they were like, yeah, you're fine. And he's like, thanks for being honest with us. I was like,
wow.
Yeah. I'm like, I go, it's okay, right? Like, it's a private road and property. He's like, yeah, you're good.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I drove a car when I was 15 with my buddy Pete Brown. Yeah, that shit's awesome. So you were driving a car from when you were a kid.
Yeah.
When you turned 16, do you buy a car and now
it was the first car I had was I got it from my stepdad. It was a Toyota Corona, and it was just a crappy little car, 4-door, tin can, but it ran fine. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to sell this thing, and I'm going to get a Volkswagen Bug. That's what I really wanted. So I got a Volkswagen Bug. So I sold that. Did I trade it and sell it? So I got a Volkswagen Bug that needed motor work. It wasn't even running. And so I brought it back here, and I was like, okay, I got to like pull the motor out. And somebody gave me I had a book like, the Volkswagen for Idiots book. You know that one?
Yes.
It was before the dummies.
Yeah.
Just idiots.
Yeah.
So I was just like looking at it. I'm like, okay, 4 bolts. Okay. And then like lower it down. And I was like, okay, I need like a dolly. And I was like, okay, my skateboard. And I put it on my skateboard, and it was in the dirt, and I pulled the motor out, and I was like, okay, I got the motor out. And I figured it out on my own. And I was using like channel locks. It's the worst tools.
That's insane.
But I made it work, and I got it fixed. And somebody helped me out. It was like something with the push rods were bent, and it just needed some head work. But I got it going, and I put the motor back in there, and it ran fine. And then the day I turned 16, I was at DMV taking my test.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, because you're stuck here.
You're stuck.
Yeah, and there was no video games to hang out and play. It was like, this was awesome. This was the best thing about growing up around here back in the day. We had a television set, and we had VCR. We watched movies at night, but like there were no video games. There was no like hanging out inside watching the shitty ass TV with bad reception. It was like I was outside. So I'd come home, and there was my brother wasn't around, my parents weren't around. And I remember I would just make shit. Like I'm just fucking making shit all the time. I made a hang glider. Out of PVC and plastic and duct tape. I was like, fuck yeah.
That's fucking
we're on
incredible.
a hill, right?
Yeah.
And I got it.
On a huge hill.
I was like, I want to see if this thing works. And I fucking had it. It was pretty big. And I start running down the hill. And I was just like, let go. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm so glad at that age that I could figure out that was a horrible idea. And I was like,
because you're gonna get too high up in the air, it's gonna break.
Well, I was
and
like,
you're
well,
gonna
what if it did
killed.
fly? Like,
yes.
And then I'm gonna get up there safe.
Yeah,
and I was just like, I'm gonna fucking die. I was just threw it away. I was like, that's dumb. I was just into the manufacturing.
That's incredible, though. That's so dope.
And so the other thing too was great. Over behind us over here, the hill, it gets, when it rains really heavy, it turns in not like a river, but they're really saturated. And I had a skimboard, and I was like, I wonder if I could skimboard that. And I would walk up to the hill. This is a pouring down rainstorm, right?
Yeah.
And I'm up there just doing laps, like running up the hill, running in like a wet t-shirt and surf trunks.
I love it.
Tight ass Quicksilver trunks, and just like ripping down the hill, like sliding. I did that before I learned how to snowboard, and it might have helped.
Oh, of course.
My mom coming up the dirt driveway, and she's like, "What?" She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm skimboarding." She's like, "You're gonna catch a cold." Classic mom.
Yeah.
You're gonna catch a cold. I'm like, "I don't care." I'm like, I'm sweating.
Yeah.
It's so hot out here, and she's just like, "Okay."
That's amazing.
Discover.
It's a different life, right? Like we live in a different time. Our kids live in a different time. Imagine your kid driving at 13.
Well, my 11-year-old, I'm like, okay, you ready, George? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, you can reach the pedal now, so you're good. And so he's like, I taught him how to drive when he's 11.
Oh my God, that's
I let him drive. I was like, okay, it's a little dodgy right here. We were up by Arnold. We were way out in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, okay, wait, just stop. We got to put it in 4-wheel drive. I just let him maneuver and just go, and I'm like, okay, it's before he learned how to drive. I go, the biggest thing before you drive, do not slam on the brake. 1 foot, like don't punch the gas. I go, it's all about the feather. Like, don't do this. It's like if you can just feather, brake, and gas, you'll have it dialed, and just look ahead. And he's like, okay. So he's got it, and now awesome. I just like when they're around, you know, like they just fucking drive. And my 8-year-old, he's like, Papa, it's my turn to drive. I'm like, you can't reach the pedal yet. You can sit on my lap and steer, but you can't reach the pedal. Like when you can reach the pedal, you can drive.
Yeah.
He's like, okay.
Yeah, I think I did the same with my kids. I'll have to ask him. I know because my son is 4 years younger than my daughter. You know, she was ready to drive at 12 or 13, you know, just up and down a back road or whatever. And so then, yeah, he probably would have started maybe 9 or 10. Yeah, as soon as he could reach the pedals.
Yeah. But I also, and I don't know where I got it, but I got a go-kart when I was younger.
Wow.
And so these roads, there's a lot of houses on here now, but back in the day, it sounded like back in the day.
Yeah, way back then.
I would like, okay, there's no cars. I'd go up on the highway. I'd go up and I go, and I'd turn around because it was asphalt and there's lots of gravel. So you can hit that at full speed, which is maybe like 25 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And you can drift. And you're like,
so rad.
And you just drift that thing and you hit the dirt and you just keep going. And I was just flying. I was just like drifting every single turn in there and there was nobody to complain.
That's so
You know, there was like 3 or 4 houses out here. That was it.
Yeah.
And so it was like, whatever.
So you were just a wild kid.
It was experimental, yeah.
Yeah, and that just kept going the whole way through. So when do you pick up a camera? Kind of go...
So that was like the camera thing was...
You helped Jerry and Artie. There's photos of you helping.
Well, before I went to Tahoe, I went to... I've always... This is to backtrack where it really started. In elementary school, I'm trying to think of the teacher... He taught, like, we got to learn photography. We got cameras.
That's fucked up.
And we got to shoot.
And awesome.
And so she's just like, yeah, just go out and shoot, whatever. And I remember looking at the windows, and they were in a long grid, and it went from big to small. So I just was like, oh, this is pretty cool, the way it lines up like that. And I took a photo of it, and then he processed everything. We weren't processing anything then, but he was doing a slideshow, and he's like, came to my photo, and he's like, who took this photo? And I was like, I did. He's like, this is great. And I was like, it really inspired me because of a teacher was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm a photographer. I'm a photographer. And it wasn't until and then I went to, the junior colleges were just way easier to go to. So what was cool about the junior colleges, they have all these great tools. And so I would just go to use all their tools. And so I went to school down in Stockton and Delta, and the photography teacher, I would take photos, and he was like, you can't do that. He was like, oh, Ansel and I, he's an older guy. He's like, well, one time Ansel and I was like, fuck Ansel. I mean, Ansel's a fucking amazing photographer. And it took that's an art form that nobody else could touch back then with what he had to work with.
Yeah.
But, dodge and burn. That's what it was. But, he was like, well, you can't, it's too contrasty. There's no in-between grays. I'm like, well, that's just the way I'm shooting. And he's like, well, you can't shoot like that. I'm like, why? Why can't I shoot like that? And that was sucked about a teacher just I understand traditional, I thought I was just taking a photography class. I didn't know I was taking an Ansel Adams class. I'd rather learn from Ansel Adams, not the Ansel Adams fucking kiss-ass teacher. So I was just like, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
And it sucks when people are like, well, it's not the way I do it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, especially someone who's supposed to be a mentor and a helper to stoke you out on something.
Yeah.
They're going, yeah, okay, I see zero potential in what you're doing.
With snowboarding and my kids, my boys, I just they'd get frustrated. I'm just like, dude, just first of all, just relax.
Yeah.
You'd be stuck in the powder, they're little kids. And I'm just like, okay, you're in the snow. Just like cartwheel, snow angel your way. I go, you're not going to be stuck here. You're fine. It's frustrating because you can't move.
Yeah.
But I go, just relax. And they get frustrated. They were like going for it, and they get frustrated. And I go, George, I just need to let you know it's a piece of plywood that you slide down the hill on to have fun.
Yeah.
I go, don't get caught up in trying to be good. Like there's no such thing as being good. What's good is just you having a good time.
Yep.
And that just took the pressure out of, like, I didn't put any pressure on him, like, oh, you got to be a snowboarder. I'm like, we're just going out there and we're going to have fun. And when we go out, we just have fun. Like, it's funny because it's like we're throwing snowballs at each other.
Yes.
And we're just, and every time any of those little guys stop, I just bury them in snow. And they love it. And they do it to me too. And
That's epic.
It's really cool. But last week up at Donner Ski Ranch, we were there, and I mean, it's the first of the year, but I knew a little spot. And I'm like, oh, it's like snow's soft here. And I go, George, here, watch out. George, get out of the way. And so I just went past, and it was just this little small thing, but it was like, the snow was like, boop. And he's like, Papa, I want to try it. I'm like, oh, you're gonna go off it? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And he went to go off it, and then he realized, like, he can't see where he's going to go. So as soon as he went off, he was just all,
Yeah.
And I told him, I go, you just went for it. Like, that's the best part.
It's like, the best.
Don't worry about, like, landing it and all that. Just have fun.
Yeah, my kids, I didn't even teach them to toe side turn. I didn't make them link turns. It just looked too hard. I was like, fuck, just go on your heel side. Just go on your heel side forever. Just keep up. Let's go. We're just going heel side. You go heel side, then you go heel side, then you go heel side. And then in grade 5, they went with the school. And the teacher, the snow instructor was like, you got to link turns. But the first day they had to link turns. They're like, Dad, I could do toe side now. They could just snake down the run. I probably could have taught them how to do it.
Yeah, but no, that's good. That's the same way I taught them as well. It's like, okay, we're just going to go on the toes. That's it. You're just going to traverse across your toes.
Yeah.
And don't worry about the turn. Just fucking fall, get on your butt, and then go get to your heel, and then and just stay on your heels. And I always teach people that want to learn how to snowboard. I hate teaching snowboard.
I hate it
They're
too.
Special.
It's the worst. Yeah.
Or blood. I always just tell them, like it's like you're on your tippy toes, right? Mm-hmm. So you're on your tippy toes, but you're trying to keep your knees bent at the same time. It's hard to do it when you stand there and you try it.
Yeah.
It's hard to do it, but when you're moving, it helps. And same thing with your heels. Like you're on your heels like this, and you're bending your knees, and you're keeping your mass like over the top of your whole body without bending forwards or backwards. And last week, my 11-year-old, he's like, "Can we go down that?" And I was like, "All right." And so it was kind of steeper, and he was struggling. And I go, "Hey, George, I just told you, I can just see it." He was just struggling, and I said, "When you go to start your turn, put your whole body down the hill. And step on your front foot when you go to do your toe turn." And he did that. And he goes, boop. And he was right around. And he's like, oh, it works. And it was just changed his whole deal. And now he was like, he's more confident on the steeps. And that's the beauty of snowboarding for 35 years,
Jesus.
36 years since 80. Let's do the math. Do you have the app? Let's do the math. If
the
it was
app,
back
it
in
would
84, let's call it 84.
Okay, so 80. If it was 2024 right now, that'd be 40 years. Mm-hmm. So it's just 2 years less than that.
Yeah, so 38.
Jesus, fuck. That's a lot. That can't be possible. No.
What do you mean? It can't be possible. Snowboarding's been around for a
38,
while.
but then
that was on the
you were
back
17.
hill.
So you were 17 when you started. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
But it wasn't until I was 18 or 19 when I think I was 18. I ended up at Donner Summit and snowboarding. Like,
you got a job, right? Like, and then you were just like you were the lifty up there. Is that right?
Well, that was like when they were handing out the the mountain operations and such. It was like, do you want to be a lift op or work in the kitchen? I was like, there's no fucking way I'm going to be out there as a lift op. It's like I would love to be out there like lift opping, but there's no way I want to be out there watching my buddies like, oh, it's so killer.
Yeah.
Here's your chair.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I just stay inside, it's warm, free food.
You're cooking food.
Cooking food, and then they're going to come in, and then they're going to need me.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I'm working inside. There's no way I'm going to be out there. And it wasn't because of like a lift off or whatever. I just knew I was going to be fucking bummed watching my friends just ride.
That early crew that Tina named off, I'm like, that's fucked up. Like, that's just like crazy that group of people all came up riding together. So it's like you got Damien, you got the Bassiches, you got the Roaches. Like even that's a lot, but you've also got Tucker Franson, and is John Baiocchi one of those guys?
Yeah, Baiocchi was one.
Baiocchi.
And Neil Rankin was out there too.
Rankin, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
That's nuts.
That is actually nuts, right? Like, because when you look at the ski areas that are here, there's 20 of them. Yeah, and there's not 20 crews like that. That's impossible.
Well, it's, you know, the best part was like when those guys came up on the weekends, and I somehow finagled got the weekends off and got to ride with those guys. That was the best part, because there would be like 5 or 6 of us riding together, and it was tip to tail. And every snowboard kid has a story of riding with their fucking posse.
Training up,
their crew, their group.
Yeah.
And this was before posse or crew.
That's correct. Yeah.
We were riding in a bunch. It was like back then it was a bunch. There was a bunch of us, 5 or 6.
The Donner Bunch.
And and it was tip to tail, and it was like North Trail. It was like boop, 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 you know, and whoever, it's like you didn't fall because somebody's going to land on you.
Yeah.
And everybody was just tip to tail, and it was just, you were so fired up, and it was fun.
Yeah, well, it made world champions, right? Like Damien was like the extreme world champion, which is a thing that he was so good at it that he got the Trans World Most Extreme Award 2 years in a row. He didn't even ride the second year.
Yeah.
Like it was like, he didn't even have to ride the whole, people were just like, most extreme Damien, 100%.
100%.
And Tina became, you know, a 20-year competitor, like a staple, like pushed women snowboarding.
Yeah.
You became a world-class cinematographer.
I don't know if I'd use the W word.
Yeah, absolutely. Your films were like top-tier films. Like the White Balance film, was that what it was called?
It was called the Sean
White.
The White Album is actually...
The White Album.
The White Album is... That name is actually owned... You'd think it was owned by the Beatles.
The Beatles.
It's actually owned by Alanis Morissette. She owns the title, The White Album.
What?
So I was like, well, this is the Sean White Album.
Yeah.
And so... because he was into guitars, and that's how it kind of like formed that way. It was just trying to do something.
Did you have a friendship with him? Like...
I did a movie for Arnett a long time ago called My Way, and it was a multi-sport, moto, surf, but it was like the best of everybody, and it was so incredible to work on that, because I just got shipped all over. I mean, I went to Pipeline. I've never even been to Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
And Mike Parsons Snips, he's like, you know, he's big wave, and he's like, okay, Seoane, you're coming to Hawaii with me, and, you know, and I'm filming. I've never even filmed surfing before, and I get there. And I go, hey, Snips. He's like, what? And I go, I bet you I'm the only guy in Hawaii with wool socks on right now. And he's like, fuck, aren't your feet hot? And he's like, what are you doing? And I remember we stayed, and like Sunset Beach was right there. And I just remember I couldn't sleep. I was like, fuck, it's so fucking loud.
It's quite loud. Yeah.
Waves.
Thunder all night.
And all those guys, all those surf guys, I totally got along with them well, because of the fact that I wasn't trying to be I was not a surfer, and I didn't claim to be a surfer or say like, oh, this one time I was surfing. None of that. I was like, fuck, you guys are fucking. I go, you're going to paddle out in that whitewash, that foam, like 20-foot wall of foam coming in. And you just like Pat O'Connell just boop right underneath it. I was like, holy shit, man, those guys are strong. But the best part about all those pro surfers, they're like top of their game, but everywhere we go, they're like, dude, I need to get a leash. I'm like, you have the fucking easiest part of the equation. You don't have a leash. You don't have wax. You're like, you don't have any of that shit. Accessories. I think you guys do it just so you can go to the surf shops and be like, yeah, here I am.
Need a new leash.
And leash. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And the funnest part about that whole like My Way thing was like, it's like Luke Egan, Pat O'Connell. I'm trying to think who else was there. It was like world-class surfers, right?
Yeah. And
we were sitting at Pipe, sitting on there, and it was like just barely, it wasn't breaking or anything. And he's like, and they were like, okay, Seoane, you ready to surf Pipe? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm ready. They're like, come on, we're taking you out. And I was just like, they were just like, it was fucking fun. And they're like pushing me into these little tiny little rollers, you know. It's just so flat. And they're like, yes, you're surfing Pipe. I'm like, dude, this shit's overrated. I can't. It's way bigger in the postcards and the movies, dude. This is easy.
I remember seeing a guy coming out of the water with a half a surfboard, Like, I don't know if he was bleeding. He was definitely like so out of his
1,000-yard stare.
Yeah, he was just like, what the fuck? My friend said I could do it. It's like, oh my God. There's never been a point in my life where I looked at surfing and was like, I'm going to learn to do that. I also never claimed that I would do the Baker Road Gap. Like, I looked at it and I was like, okay, that is just, that's where
I've never had an interest in doing it as well.
No, it just looks like so, if you caught your edge, like you need to milk every bit of speed to get across that. And then like, I just looked at it and went, I'm not that good.
Who do you think the Baker Road Gap poster child was?
I've got to give it to Farmer. I have to.
Yeah.
Like, shirt off? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you fucking joking?
Yeah.
He was the first guy
And
to
he got a
build
poster.
it. Yeah. And so he's the literal poster guy.
Was he on a summit with that?
He was, I don't know.
Maybe he
possibly.
stepped down to like a 205 or something.
I definitely would say today my favorite to see is Pat McCarthy because he's still sending it.
Yeah.
And
how old is he?
I don't even know. He's got to be in his 40s at least. He's definitely fucking rad.
Yeah.
And he's like the smiling face of Mount Baker. You know what I mean? It gives me a good feeling to know that Baker always stayed Baker.
Yeah. Like
from the MBHC to the like Oi boys, like Bass and those guys, like watching Jamie ride at Baker. I've said it probably 1,000 times on the microphone. We followed him down the canyon. And the canyon's like side hit heaven if you're Jamie Lynn. Everybody else, it's fucking hell.
Stumps, yeah.
It's such hell. And seeing him actually boost up the side hits and finding landings where you're just going, I can't believe that's real. Like, he's that much better than everybody.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, Baker, I had Gwen on maybe the first season or second season and talking about the Howitt family doesn't, buy into corporate sponsorships and shit like that.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
It's dope.
It's roots. Well, what's Dan Donnelly's younger brother?
Oh, I don't even know. Dano has a younger brother?
Yeah, he had a younger brother. God, I gotta think of his name because it was so good. We're at. I gotta think of his name. Ike Donnelly. Okay, so we're at Mount Baker, and it's just one of those like just coming down, and it's like okay, everyone's all packed up, and Dan Donnelly's younger brother Ike, like in the lodge or whatever, he's like, I forgot my boots, and somebody just gave him a pair of boots, just so he could ride. I guess that's pretty common up there to forget your boots and
sure.
And your trash bag, but. Like, we're going down, and it's like, Baker, like, just steep chute, like, just working our way down. And this guy's cartwheeling, and all of a sudden, there's just a board with boots in it, just goes by me, like, cartwheeling, and Ike Donnelly's like, fuck, I lost my board. And he was just in socks, and I was like, fuck, I wish I brought my boots. It was the fucking funniest day of snowboard I've ever seen. And those guys they're just out having a good time.
Yeah.
They weren't trying to, like, one up each other at all. But yeah, there's some big boy riders up there, and it's pretty incredible. Like
Tex, Dano,
yeah,
Fulton,
Craig.
I mean, yeah, Bass, fuck.
Okay, so one of the greatest Baker things to happen is that I got to sit in the passenger seat with Craig going up to Baker in the morning, and it's a full rally race.
Oh, wow.
The closest parking spot.
No way.
And every corner was drifted as I was just like quiet. I was like, I hope nobody's coming down.
Yeah.
But like he's passing cars and like they all know each other and they're like practically hitting bumpers with each other. They're just fully racing up there. And you get out of the car and you're like, oh, okay.
Fully gripped.
Now I just have to make it through the day of riding around here. Stay alive. I'll be okay.
Craig was such a character. Let's do some Craig talk, man. I anchored the show to Craig early on because I found it was a really nice entry point with people for talking about, like, because he wasn't just the competitor's competitor. He was also like fucking Elmer, right? Like he was also doing playing tricks on everybody. He was like crashing vehicles in Japan. He was like. he was like a mischievous
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, and then very intelligent as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, his daughter is whip smart as well.
Yeah.
Like, just super smart. So, like, yeah, do you have a favorite Craig story or a trip you went on with him, or even?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Yeah, cool, cool.
So I met Craig a few times at the contest, but I didn't really know him at all. And it wasn't until like I went to Riksgränsen, to Sweden for the first time. It was like flying to Sweden, and then Artie and I mean, we took a train from like Sweden all the way up there. It was like 20 hours or whatever.
Oh wow!
And so it was like the guy Beckett Colin, he was like, okay, we got it. It's in that film, and he's like, okay, we got a helicopter lined up. So when we get there, it was like we got there like 8:30 or 9. And we're just gonna go in a helicopter, and he's like, hey, we have like one more seat open, like, and Craig's up there doing his camp. Maybe you want to go ask him? I was like, fuck yeah, I want to go ask him. This is a great way to break bread with somebody. So
Hell yeah.
I knock on his door. I go, hey, Craig. He's like, oh, hey, what are you up to and everything? And I was like, I just got here. And I go, but hey, we have a helicopter with the extra seat. You want to go? And he's like, when? I go, oh, right now. And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, I'll meet you in the lobby. And I'm not fucking lying. Like 3.5 minutes, he comes down, just booted up, all ready to go, bored, just like, okay. And I was like, wait, I need to pack still. And he was just on it, and we jumped in that helicopter, and him and I, it was first of all, it's at like, we rode until like midnight, right?
Oh wow!
And the sun was low, and the snow was golden. It was golden. It had the softest light. It was sparkling gold, and no exaggeration. And that's the first time I really rode with Craig, and him and I are like riding, it's like doing turns, and it's just like, oh, he's really good. And I remember I come around, and he's right here, and it was like, oh fuck, and I just ducked down, and he went boop, like kind of over me, and I don't know if it was directly over me, but he just like popped over.
Right.
And we got to the bottom. I was like, fuck, that was a close one. He's like, yeah, I thought I was going to kill you. I was like, I thought you were going to kill me too. And yeah, that was a really cool trip. And then at the end of the night, just being out there and just like looking around. And he kept saying, he's like, yeah, this is like the Led Zeppelin song. And he's like, the midnight land of the ice and the snow. And he was trying to remember the lyrics of the helicopter. And I was like, we were trying to remember the lyrics. And it was like, it was a pretty magical, like one of the most magical snowboarding experiences. And because he's such a good rider, and riding with him, and it was like, I think we kind of connected, and I was like, that's when I was like, oh, I want to film with Craig more. He's like fun to ride with, and he's fun to like. And he's really good.
Was that Soul Lapse? Like, were you guys filming it all? Like, stop and go filming?
Yeah, no, Artie was filming.
Artie was filming.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it was just the two of us, and so we just get out, and there was a little like kind of like crunchy ice section that we just kind of make it through, and then it was just open like show off powder.
I love it. I love it. That's amazing. That's amazing. So that started a friendship with him. That was you filmed with him a couple of other times, right?
Yeah, and I remember we started filming more, and I'd go up to Canada, meet up with him, and we'd drive around in his van.
That van was sick.
Yeah, that van was.
Oh my god,
it was stinky too. Socks, the long underwear, living out of the van, cruising around. It's like, but he'd be like, "Okay, like we're here." I'm like, "We're here where?" He never gave me the details. I didn't ask questions. I just was like, "Oh yeah, Craig's in charge." Like, I'm not gonna detail it out. It's like, okay, where we go. And we stop, and it's like, oh, we got to talk to. It's like we're at some fucking farmhouse or whatever, and you talk to the guy, and the guy would just like open his barn door and just like pull out A-Star out of the barn. I was like, oh, we're going fucking heli riding today.
Oh my god.
And
so he just had budget, like he had Burton budget, and he's
and this is when he was just like he had won the Mount Baker bank slalom. He was like he left on that note, and he was just like riding bigger mountains, and he was really like, I mean, he's solid, right? I mean, when I watch him too, like I was watching that stuff from Riksgränsen, and just like the way he rides, and he's just tuck knee, and he's all like just compact, and he's over his side cut, and he's just like, he's on it. He's
there's two things there I want to tell you that I learned over the years. Number one, he was bow-legged as a kid. So his mom had to bolt him to like a board with some straps, like shoes, like.
I never knew this.
Yeah. So like, belts with like so he's belted to this thing, and he would wander. He was a kid, and he would like go like, like how you have to go on a snowboard. He would like waddle around his house on that thing.
Forrest Gump.
And they were trying to get his knees together. So his knee together style was probably directly from that, first of all. Second of all, him and Tim Wendell went to Jose Fernandez had a camp somewhere, and they went there. And Tim and Craig both were like, this camp thing, we got to do this. So they did a Blackcomb camp. You probably went up to one of their first camps.
Yeah, I was up there at one of them, yeah.
But the fact that they had to dissect how to teach snowboarding actually made them technically the best snowboarders in the world at the time.
Yeah. The athleticism. I remember like traveling in vans and like, I was so stinky. And they just like, remember like, we both always have like really bad gas. And so we started like, it'd be like, and I would be like, star chatter. And he'd be like, okay. And then a few minutes go by and he'd be all, and he'd be like rippling east wind. Like we named every single one of them. And it was brilliant.
What a dude. What a dude. There couldn't have been a better ambassador for snowboarding at that time than that guy. He just had it.
Yeah, I always wonder, like what it would be like now if he's still around. And I think he would just be as strong as ever. And
probably something like Jerry Lopez.
Yeah. But I fucking get choked up when I go to Baldface, And I like, first time I was there, and it's like we go out to some people call it a cross, some people call it a sword. I'm going to call it a sword. Mm-hmm. I'm going on the sword side.
Yeah.
And so the sword is like, we get out there with Gooch and, it's like, okay, let's tell our best like Craig stories when we get out here. And I fucking walk up to the cross and I just fucking lose it.
Oh, man.
I get so fucking like right now I think about it. It's like I fucking get choked up. And I don't really like, I don't know. I think that's everybody deals with, death, and everybody deals with death differently. I like to just bottle it up and not really like kind of go with it. It's like, well, nobody lasts forever. And then I just like wait a year or two and then I just fuck it all festers out.
Let it go.
And what he left behind, it's like if he would have been the first, is it CMH or
ACMG?
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, he would have been the first.
It's not even an acronym.
No.
You think they have an acronym.
No.
Something like slide or something.
No. He was way ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was so right about free riding being the thing. Right?
He wanted the flow.
He always wanted the flow, man.
Yeah.
I am really sorry for your loss with that. Like, I mean, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
It shook the whole snowboard world. It was.
Well, because he wasn't, he was always very safe and very like cautious, and but he was in an element that was in nobody's control. I was up in Juneau, Alaska, with Gooch, Craig, John Buffrey, right?
Whew.
And it was like, okay, it's been about like 10 days. It's still snowing out there.
Yeah.
And so finally it clears. Like, okay, we're going up. So I think we like flew up like past Mendenhall. Like we were out there, and Buff is just, it's like everything is just bling.
Yeah.
Like white and blue. And it was so beautiful. And we're looking around and, Craig's stretching. Gooch is like, fuck, I'm kind of hungover. But it was so good because, Buff's digging a pit. And Craig's like, well, what do you think, Buffer? And Buffer's like, looks at it, he's like, I think we should get the fuck out of here right now.
Oh, wow.
And he goes, see that helicopter down there? One at a time. And I was like, to Gooch, I was all, right behind you, Gooch. And we one at a time, just V-lined it down to the helicopter, got in, and it was like,
yeah.
It was full relief that, because of course we're going to try, like Buffer's like, he's one of the best. And like, we're like, oh, okay. it's fucking unsafe.
Yeah.
And we're not going to like second guess him and be like, well, what if it was not even like, well, what if we did this aspect? It was like, okay. It's like quiet and just enjoy the scenery, get home safely. And that's the kind of guy like Craig was.
See,
he wasn't like, fuck it, man. It's going to be fine over here. He wasn't like,
right.
You know, he had intel.
Yeah. I don't have that. So I deliberately didn't get a sled for all those years because I can't put in all that effort and get all the way out there and then say, oh, fuck it, it's too touchy. Like, I just don't have that constitution. I probably could now. It's hard because, like, it's like, I've been on aspects and they've slid. Like, I've, you know.
When nobody can really go to resorts because everything was closed and it was like, oh, this is going to really, like, people are going to die in the backcountry because everyone's like, oh, I'm just going to, like, hike.
Fuck yeah.
And it's like, there's going to be a lot of people out of their element. And I was really worried that people were just going to go out and just get, you know, pummeled. But I don't think it really, maybe it did. I don't know. The numbers are up or not, but I was scared.
Yeah. Well, it's so I did eventually get a sled. And when I went out there, I mean, it was, they call it paved. Like, it was just like, there were so many people out there that it was nuts.
Brandywine?
Fucking so much fun. Who have you gone up Brandywine with?
Well, I think the first time I went out there, I was with like Johan, the Destroyer.
Oh.
Who was out? Actually, I went on a trip. It was with Johan, Albin, Snowmobile, our fearless other camera guy, Bill Gallen, and it was like Mickey, Johan. I don't know if Eker might have been out there, maybe, but we were out there in Pemberton, and Swede was the guide.
Nice.
And Johan and Swede was just like, oh, this. I don't know if this is good for the fucking the region, the area, or the bars at night. It was like, these guys are like serious fucking Vikings. They got along pretty good, and but I remember like being out with Sweden. It was like this thing, it like kind of bottlenecked here, and it was just like opened back up. And he's like, okay, one at a time. And I'm like the last guy, and he looks at me. He's like, fuck, this thing's gonna slide. And he skied off, and I was like, God damn it, you're fucking with me.
Fuck, dude.
Is he fucking with me? I don't know, but I'm gonna play it safe. I was like, you can't even, it's not even in your control. I was like, fuck. But I think that same trip we ended up like sledding out to Brandywine. And I'm trying to think who. I think maybe Alan.
Al Clark?
Yeah,
of course.
Might have taken us out there.
That sounds right.
So I got to revisit Brandywine, but this time it was for a Nike commercial, and it was like a huge LA crew. It was like so many people, and Lance Accord was shooting and directing, and he's like incredible. But like the way he got it set up, all the features had lights underneath it, like colored lights.
Oh Jesus!
Like they went out like for a week before and got everything set up. They scouted, they put a lot of energy into the whole project. I don't know. It was like a pretty big budget. And so I was filming with Jake Burton at the time, and they called and they're like, hey, do you think you can come up to Canada? I'm like, well, I'm actually driving back like home from Canada. And they're like, have you crossed the border yet? I go, no. He's like, okay. They're like, okay, we're sending work permits. Go to the border, take care of all your paperwork, and get over to Whistler.
Shit.
And it was the most amazing out there at night when it's all lit up. Pretty solid crew.
Like you probably, or
I'm trying to think what era.
Or
I was more focused on
Nico.
like the production detail side of it.
Sure.
You know, because I had to snowboard with a pretty big heavy film camera. But you know, we had to like, it's like 6 miles out there, right?
Sometimes, so it depends on where you're going.
We had to sled everybody out there. Everybody went out on sleds, and they had cats, lights, crew, and the whole time at night it just snowed, and it was awesome. It was cold, but I remember Lance Cord. He's like, man, like everybody's just so happy it's snowing and it's cold. He's like, if we were in LA, we'd probably get some fucking like humanity violation, or like something would not be right. But it's like everybody out here is just into being out here in the snow and at night, and it's beautiful and nobody's complaining. He's like, it's a pretty awesome trip. I'm like, yeah, nobody's ever seen it like this before.
That's so sick. So, yeah, my kid's doing film stuff, And I wasn't sure whether he would like it or not. I don't know. You know, around the house, you ask him to do stuff, and it's not like he's like, no. But he's on set, and they're like, sweep this floor for 8 hours straight. He's like, just like smile on his face doing it.
That's
right?
how it starts. So you show up on time and you get the shit done, and then they call you back, and that's how it works.
He said
it's that simple.
Yeah, he said there was an LA crew, and he's like, it was so stereotypical. He loved it. Like the girl going like, this coffee is cold. Who the fuck brought me cold coffee? All right, darling. I need you to just smile a little. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, now a little more like this. Okay, why is this guy talking to me? Get the fuck away from me. He said it was so much fun to just see it in real life.
Yeah, it's they're like those. That's why like I kind of got into like I wanted to like kind of do the more like commercial cinematography, and it was good, but it's like there's a chain of command and there's an etiquette to it, and it's fine. I mean, you work with these great DPs and directors, and it's like you kind of just suck it up and you just sit in the background and you watch, and it's like, that's how you do it.
Sick.
Yeah, so it was all that was great experience, but then it's eventually like, you know, it took me a while to get out of the whole snowboard industry and kind of into the commercial cinematography. And then once I was in it as just a camera operator, I felt like there's no room for creativity unless you're the director of photography or you're the director. So I need to just direct my own. Own.
Well, you've got a Red camera, right?
I've got a Red, and I got a bunch of old film cameras and stuff. But
like so those Red cameras. My buddy gave me a bit of a lowdown on them. It's the Oakley guy went like nuts and like basically backdoored the fucking like the Hollywood production scene, right? With the camera.
It was a little rough in the beginning, but they just kept putting a lot of like energy and money and technology into it, and then they eventually start like it's all about the sensor. Yeah, you know, and they eventually. I mean, their sensors are okay, but like, you know, they have like, oh, we're like 6K, like 8K, and it's like, you know, Aries, like Airflex is like, they're like, it's the quality of the pixel, not the amount. That was their thing. They're like, yeah, you do your thing. And they're two different like styles of cameras and people who shoot them. But finally, I mean, they've come a long ways with the newer sensors now, and like we're big DPs are like, okay, this is working. But if you watch, I'll give you this example. If you watch an episode of Deadwood, okay, you watch an episode of Deadwood, and that's all shot in film, 35 millimeter. Yeah, and you watch that, and you see how the blacks fall off, and with the video, I hate using the word video, with the digital image, the blacks don't really fall off. They you kind of see more, and that's the difference in the beginning. It was like you see everything, and everything was too crisp, and it just needed to be toned down. So they need to kind of, I don't know how. I have no idea what's in a sensor.
You're right.
I have no idea like the technology that goes into it. I'm sure there's a lot of people that can break it down, but I just want to be able to go with the camera. Yeah. But I think like now, like what I really want to do is I just want to focus on like filming like light imagery. Okay. Not like lightweight, but light. And so there's so many ways to make different lights and colors, and I know it sounds a little psychedelic and such, but it's more of like, this is why I have this whole shop here. It's because I want to be able to build instruments that like warp light and to be able to document it on film. So what the real finished product is the tool and all the energy that goes into making this tool to be able to like bend light like that, dude. And the actual documenting it and putting it on film or video that's the easy part. Yeah. The hard part is like making things that spin and wobble and like project. So that's my whole new that's what I want to really just dedicate the rest of my life into. Sick. And I don't know if that's going to be for 5 years or 50 years. So. I'm shooting for 50. Yeah, exactly. Where did the love of psychedelia come from? Psychedelics and journeying and that kind of stuff? Because it's definitely been a part of your life, right? It's been a huge part of my life. Yeah, that's a. Yeah, I guess we can talk about it. I mean, I'm a little bit like hesitant to talk about it because I have kids and I don't want to get into the whole like
I can cut that.
Tripping,
Yeah.
You know, obviously, it opens up parts of your mind that just don't get used, and I think it just like it all of a sudden instead of like this, you're more like this, and so you're just taking in more, and I think it just like it's funny because I always. But I meet people and it just click with them, you know. And after talking to them, it's like, oh, really? You tried some of those mushrooms? And it's like, oh yeah. And it's like, oh, it's like
yeah, it's mindset. It's definitely a mindset for sure. Yeah. It's something for me personally that I read like The Doors of Perception or something. I was kind of nerdy in my like I remember asking, you know, the guy in my math class, "You've done drugs, right? Tell me about these drugs and what they do to your mind." And I loved it. I just like instantly fell in love. I was like, oh, that's like you said, the expanding and just having a different worldview. It felt like traveling the world or something, traveling the universe.
Yeah, and I think you know there's a big movement with mushrooms right now, and that they're the healing powers in them. It's the same thing with like with cannabis, you know. It's like it was always recreational, but now it's like the medical side of it, depending upon which dispensary you go to. Because there's the THC version, which is pretty heavy, and then but just the whole like the healing portion of it, and it's like there's results, and I know it's like you know like always worried. It's like and I'm not even good at smoking weed. I don't even like. I'll smoke it once in a while, but I don't. I just get too like. I can't do it. But I see. You know, it's always it works and it's effective. But I always worry about like, okay, the big like FDA is going to get FDA approved instead of just growing it out of the dirt with no chemicals and bunching it up and then here you go. This is the medicine. We have to like process it, put chemicals into it, and extract the THC and all this shit. And it's like, fuck, just let people fucking do what they want to do. And I understand like, you know, cocaine and heroin, like that's some pretty heavy drugs that just fucking destroy people. And like with the weed and mushrooms, like those type of, I don't even want to call them drugs, but those type of plants. Yeah. I think those type of plants are like, they're healers, but I think, you know, it has such a, it's all tainted from like, oh, this is your brain on drugs. Right.
Well, there's also like, there's science coming out now that they've been able to do human studies. They haven't been able to do that because they've been on Schedule I drugs for so long. They don't have the right research behind them. They kind of made it recreational before they even did the research. They just said, okay, anecdotally, we know what this does.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of research saying that kids shouldn't have them. You know what I mean?
That's
when you're 15, 16 years old, when we were young and we were experimenting, you know, there was, for me, there was such a stigma. I also felt really bad. I'd like smoke weed or whatever and then wake up in the morning and be like, fuck, we're drug addicts or we're
on drugs. I was on drugs last night.
Yeah, exactly. We were on drugs, dude. Or like we're criminals too. That was the other thing, was that like if anyone finds out we were on drugs, we could go to juvie or whatever the fuck it was.
But it was all plant-based.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the funny part.
I didn't even know, man. Like, I had no idea. I had acid the first time I had any drug because I was like, I'm not trying one of those smoky drugs.
Yeah.
Those things are harsh, I bet.
Yeah, or like cocaine. It's like, I see what that shit did to people in Tahoe, and I was like, I'm not fucking going near that shit.
Not fucking with that. Yeah, that wasn't my thing ever.
I'm not going near that shit. Tom Mulder.
Well, yeah.
But still, it's like that shit just does. I don't see the point. It's just people you watch people and they're just like, they just talk in circles. And
10 coffees.
They're like, okay, I got an idea.
That's
what
if? The idea.
And that's all it goes. What if? Yeah, what if? What if you weren't on fucking pinned right now? You'd be able to get it done. You fucking idiot.
Oh, man. Yeah. I fucking have had a absolutely wonderful time out at your place. This has been... thank you for being such a rad host and just being like, I got a spot. You got the best spot. This fucking shit is awesome out here.
I'm where I'm supposed to be in life, I feel like.
Where are you in the snowboard industry? Do people still call you and say like, Seoane, we need a shot for this thing, or or come on this trip, or
no? The only people that really call and that are into it are my trusty old friends at Volcom, and they have always, Richard. I met Richard Wolcott when he was in Tucker Hall when they're making stickers, and now that Ryan Immigart, I mean, they're still like. They're like, do you need anything? I'm like, well, I got a pair of pants last year. I'm okay. They're like, well, do you need another pair of pants or a jacket? I'm like, no, I got this. I can use a new jacket. The other one has holes in it, but I don't really try to like look the part. But those guys have been. I did a little thing with them, Switzerland.
Yeah.
And that was just you go up to Nelson, up to Baldface, and it's fucking cosmic up there. It's so incredible. Just being out there. And just riding with all your buddies, and it's like there's no rules, and it's like Jamie Lynn is there and the cat with you, and you just always. I was like, fuck, he's like the general, and I always like when he's up there, it's like he just out of nowhere he just pulls out an old pipe, and he's just like, I'm like, is that like pipe smoke? Like the old fucking pipe tobacco, and I was like, and I turn around and James is like, I like calling him James. James is like. Smoking the pipe. I'm like, where did that come from? Like, you just fucking pull shit out. He pulls out a fucking big knife and cuts shit off, and I'm just like, God, you are so fucking unique. And he's such a sweetheart. He's so he's just such a solid person. And but to get back to like with Volcom, like they let me just do whatever I want to do, and that's what I like to do. And that's not that doesn't happen a lot. So I'm just going to do what I love doing and let them find me, I'm not going to try to I'm just doing it for me now. I need to figure out a way to keep that rolling with, financially, but my overhead is low.
Yeah.
So I'm able to just kind of float with nothing. So it's fine. I'd rather make less money and be inspired and make shit and do it. I don't need a boat.
Right. What about making boards and stuff? I mean, you've got everything here to do it.
To make a snowboard?
Basically.
There are people that make such good snowboards these days
true.
that do
that
it so
true.
well, and
that
it's so
true.
nice that it's just stress-free. There's so many other things I want to make.
It's a lot of work, and there's a lot of, you got to have a bunch of,
Yeah. I don't.
Inks and shit.
Yeah, I'm not, I have right now I ride an Academy, a Chris Roach Master Series, and that is by far the best board I've ever ridden, and I'm like, how could it get any better?
Yeah.
With snowboard technology, the first real improvement was when the Malalo came out. I was like, because Terry was like, he's like, dude, you got to try the Malalo. And I was like, is that a good Terry impression?
That was pretty good.
I fucking love that guy. And it really was it with the skinnier tail, it still floats, but it still turns really well. And it was like, oh, this is a new way of snowboarding. I know it, and it's gone way past that. But that board I have is a traditional camber, but the thing floats in powder and it turns it's amazing. It just goes, and that's what I'm into. And teaching my kids carving turns. It's nobody's fucking, don't race down the hill. Just nobody, it doesn't matter. It's all about, you just got to fucking turn,
have fun. The idea here is we're milking the mountain for everything.
Yeah. When you lock into a rail and you hold it and you just feel it and it's going across and it's still turning. It's that's the most amazing feeling.
I keep forgetting Jacoby was in your group as well. The Joker.
Yeah. He was on his own. He wasn't really riding with us in a pod. He was a little bit, but he was more focused, taking notes. How can I beat them at the next contest?
That dude, just a gem. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unreal.
With at Donner Ski Ranch, Jerry Masterpole, he used to teach, he used to teach UNR, he was a ski coach. And then when he switched to the deal with Burton, then all of a sudden it was all the Burton guys were at Donner. And it's
nice.
I asked Jerry, I'm like, hey, can I train with you guys? Because I really just wanted to be able to make a snowboard turn. I didn't want slide turns. I wanted to become a fast turn, and that's all I wanted to do. I don't have racing in my blood. I'd go to races. I was in a speed suit, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? This is fucking dumb. I hope my friends don't see me. But I did it just because that's what we trained for, GS, and there was there's one day he was like, we're up on the lift, and he's like, Seoane, you're riding pretty good today. What's up? And I go, well, to be honest with you, I was in Reno all night and I drank all night. I just drove here. I slept for about 5 minutes in the car. I got dressed and that was about like 40 minutes ago. And he looked at me and he laughed and he's like, you should do that more often. And I was like, yes, coach. You are a real snowboard coach. You're legit.
That's epic. Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
I can't believe how fun this has been.
Yeah,
and
good. This is just the start of your trip.
This is just the start.
Yeah.
I'm in the best place. I can't believe how many, and it snowed last night or all day today, it looks like. Probably snowed a foot.
I'm going to Bear Valley Saturday.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Maybe I'll come meet up with you guys.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going. I'm staying... I'm staying in Tahoe, and I've got the car so I can drive wherever.
Yeah, it's you can't really drive across though. You have to drive back down and then.
You have to go down.
Yeah, you got to make a big U.
So if you go up by Grass Valley that way, then you get to Truckee.
Yeah,
but Bear Valley's up. The next valley up.
A couple valleys over.
A couple valleys over.
Yeah, but it's Tahoe is like straight up 80, but Tahoe this weekend will be good because there's good snow and there's people haven't started their Christmas vacation yet.
That's why I come down at this time, because it's just like people are thinking about getting gifts and freaking out, and is there snow yet? I don't know. People don't like to go in the early season.
Yeah, you should check it out. Like that. Sugar Bowl is really nice.
Yeah.
Even like Donner Ski Ranch. If you go with because I go there and I know where to go, and everybody's just on the trails and it's families. I'm parked like right in front of the chairlift, and it's just like they're not long powder runs, but it's still soft snow that nobody's touched and nobody knows where it's at.
Sugar Bowl's really nice.
Sugar Bowl's really nice.
They've got a lot of terrain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a day up there, and just how it is when you're just riding by yourself. You're kind of like looking around.
If you can go there and if you can ride with Roach, he knows Sugar Bowl really well.
Yeah, I think we're going to do either a Boreal Day or, Tina and Mikey are going up Sugar Bowl tomorrow.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, I think so. So I might try and get up there and just wander around, see if I can bump into him.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be worth it.
Oh man, you're the best. Thanks for everything, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for setting up this. This shop is sick.
Oh, it was already like this.
Thanks for setting up the lights.
All right. Thanks, you.
Dude. Oh, that was killer. We just did 2 hours.
Oh, really?
FNRad shout-outs this week to Dave and his family for having me at their home. Shout out to Dave Prizeman and his girl Dawn and their friend Luca. Super fun to ride with you guys this week. Be sure to come back next week for more FNRad snowboarding presented by Vans and brought to you by SIA Productions.